this is Molly. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Purpose, where we talk about just that. What's our purpose on this earth? Why are we here? Well, if you've been following along with me, you know what I think. I think we have two reasons to be on this earth. Number one, love God. Number two, love each other. Sounds pretty simple, right? Everybody can agree with that. Oh, it's so hard to actually try to live your life with every other thing that you do coming off of those two things. That is hard to do. At least it is for me. And God knew it was going to be hard. So he gave us the Bible. He gave us directions on how to learn how to love him and how to learn how to love each other. Because people have been struggling with this since the beginning of time, since Adam and Eve. And we can learn from their mistakes and what they did. So we left off with good old Abram and his wife Sarai and his nephew Lot. And we left off on Genesis chapter 14. And if you remember last time we were together, Abram and Lot were getting rich, boy. They had a lot of stuff, a lot of servants and camels and donkeys and sheep and tents and just acres and acres of stuff. And it was too much. The land couldn't support them, and people were starting to bicker with each other. And so Abram said, I think it's time for us to separate, Lot. Remember, Lot was kind of like Abram's insurance policy because he didn't have a son. So by sending Lot on his way, Abram's saying, I trust you, God. I trust you that you're going to send me a son to take care of me in my old age. So he told Lot, you take whatever land you want. Well, Lot just took all the good land for himself and left Abram with the scraps. And then Lot took all of his tents and his family, and he went and lived by this little city called Sodom that was full of just evil people who were only out for themselves. It was a rough place to live. But God came to Abram and told him, good job, Abram. You're not getting scraps. I am going to bless you, buddy. So anyway, life went on. They're living separately. And back in those days, every city had a king. If your town was halfway big, you were going to have a king. Instead of a mayor, they had kings. And just like today, people, especially politicians, but we just want more. We want more power, more money, more land, more people, more. Never enough. So these kings started fighting. They had 5 kings against 4 kings. 2 of those kings were the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah. And they were on the same team. And they went to battle, and Team Sodom and Gomorrah lost. And they were skedaddling. They were running for the hills, trying to get away from the other kings that were attacking and going to kill them. And the area was full of these pits that had like tar in them. It was called bitumen pits. And if you fell into them, you were going to get stuck. Guess what happened to the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah? Right into these pits. They're just running and looking behind them, and they both fall into a pit, and they're stuck. And so the other kings are just laughing, and they go into the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. There's nobody there, nobody to stop them, so they loot it. They take all the wealth, all the money, all the livestock, and all the people. They captured Lot and his family. Well, somebody got away, hightailed it to Abram and said, Abram, they just kidnapped Lot and his family. So Abram wasn't gonna shy away from this. He wasn't gonna be scared like he was in Egypt when he told Sarai, hey, don't tell anybody you're my sister. He was gonna go into action and go save Lot. So he got his trained men. I think that means they were trained in battle. They knew how to fight, and they could make a good plan on how to rescue Lot. Is that a tractor or a truck going by me? Looks like a truck. Sorry about that. Sitting outside because it's such a beautiful day. So anyway, Abram takes his men, and they go after these kings, and they divide forces, and they go out in the dark, and boom, they overtake all these kings. They're outnumbered. They overtake them. And they get back all the money and all the livestock and all the people that they had kidnapped and taken from Sodom, and they head back. Well, the king of Sodom sees them coming, and he goes out to meet him, and he has to be jealous, you know. Somebody must have pulled him out of the tar pit. He's probably like covered in tar. And he's got to be jealous and embarrassed and humiliated that this farmer guy went and beat all these kings and brought back his stuff. He wasn't the big hero. This Abram fellow was the big hero, so he's probably not very happy. And he even told Abram, all right, fine. I'll take the people, you take all the money. And Abram was like, no way, because he knew the king of Sodom's heart. He knew what was going to happen with that. He knew that one day that king was going to say, look at that Abram over there all rich and happy. That's my money. He's living large on my money. And then he'd go attack him and kill his family and get back his money. And he said, nope, just pay me what I'm due. That's all I want. Pay me what my people ate and, you know, pay me for the trip. That's all I want. But I don't think any of that's the big part of this chapter. I think the big part of this chapter comes with a very mysterious guy named Melchizedek. Melchizedek was the king of Salem, which would later be Jerusalem, the city of peace. He's the king of peace. And when Abram comes back, he makes a sacrifice, a sacrifice of thanksgiving. It wasn't a blood sacrifice for sin. It was a sacrifice of thanksgiving that Abram was able to go and bring everybody back safely. What did he offer in the sacrifice of thanksgiving? Bread and wine. So if he's offering a sacrifice of bread and wine as a offering of thanksgiving to God, and he's blessing Abram because he gave Abram a blessing, that means Melchizedek is greater and Abram is lesser, because the greater priest blesses the lower priest. But it also means he's a priest. He's a king and he's a priest of Salem, which will later be Jerusalem, and he's offering a sacrifice of thanksgiving, bread and wine. Thousands of years later, there's going to be another king who's also a priest of Jerusalem, who offers a thanksgiving sacrifice of bread and wine, and his name is Jesus. This is a foreshadowing of Jesus and the Last Supper, which is when Jesus offers bread and wine in thanksgiving. This whole chapter, this whole little bit here with Melchizedek, is all about communion. It's all about the Eucharist. If you're Protestant, communion is a time to remember and think about what Jesus did for us. Think about how he died for my sins. All that he suffered, I caused some of that. My sins today were a burden to him. And he made a straight path for me and opened up the door to heaven for me. Jesus did that for me. And for Protestants, the communion is a time to remember that and tell him thank you. If you're Catholic, the Eucharist is the biggest part of the Mass. Mass is just one big prayer leading up to the Eucharist, and the Eucharist is the grand finale. And when Catholics take a Eucharist, they truly believe that the risen body of Jesus is present in that communion host. And when you eat it, for a brief time, Jesus is physically inside of you. Physically inside of you. It's not like when I say he holds my hand when I'm scared, because Jesus is always with me. He's with me right now. But it's more kind of like a Zoom call, and the Eucharist is live and in person. So whichever religion you are, communion is huge. And that's what Melchizedek's doing here. Some people think Melchizedek is actually Jesus, that this was Jesus coming to bless Abram. I don't know. Don't know if it was or not, but it's definitely a foreshadowing to the Last Supper, and that's pretty big. So as I'm going about my day today, I'm going to be thinking about that. Everything that Jesus did for me in his passion, dying, taking on my sins. You know, when he was getting nailed to that cross, my sins were doing that to him. When he was getting whipped, my sins were doing that to him. And I've got to be thankful for what he did for me, and that he opened that door to heaven for me. And now all I need to do is get to know him. Get to know him and God and learn how to love him more. And I'm going to do that by reading the Bible. And I hope you join me next time when we learn even more about Abram and Sarai. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.